All right, how fun to have Don here in his home city. Were you over at the office? Did you walk over? Or?
Easy walk from my office. I've been in this building multiple times, and welcome to Columbus, everybody. It's a great city. I've been here a year, and it's a sleepy city until you spend some time here and realize if you like to eat food, great restaurants. Not that we like to eat food, but so welcome.
Any good bars nearby that you know of?
Yeah.
You care to share them with us? I mean, I think people might want to know.
You want some dive bars?
Who wants dive bars? All right.
Right up the street, right going toward the arena, make a right, and there's a place called the R Bar. It's famous in this area, and it's, there's a couple along there, but that's the team's favorite one.
R, that's the letter R.
R Bar.
R bar, okay, we got that down. Thank you for that tip.
And they're non-sponsored, that's even worse.
Well, you, Donnie, grew up in Detroit, playing youth hockey. I mean, what do you remember about that experience? Any coaches that you harken back on and think of today that helped you as a young kid?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. When I was playing youth hockey, most of you guys weren't born yet, but you know, there's always coaches along the way that leave memories in your mind, and you always want to go back and thank them. I had a coach for multiple years named Bob Ferguson, and he was just not just a wonderful person, but he was a great coach. And it's all, to me, coaching at that level is teaching, but it's communicating with your young players and showing the way. You know, most of your young players, male and female, they're looking for role models. They're looking to try to improve their game. And I always say the best coaches I had were the best communicators I had.
How about your journey up into college hockey? You played at Northern Michigan University up in the Upper Peninsula. How did that all come about? What do you remember about that experience?
I was playing junior A hockey in Detroit and got recruited by Michigan State, and a couple other schools out west. In Northern in 1976 was starting our first Division I program, and I thought that'd be kind of exciting being part of something new. So I found my way. Rick Conley was a coach there, still up there as the athletic director, a great man. And so I ended up going to Northern. We were all freshmen our first year there, and built through the program. In year 4, we actually lost in the NCAA finals in Providence to North Dakota. So it was a great experience.
It's interesting that college hockey now plays in the NHL. I think your senior year, it was about 11% of players in the NHL had some kind of college hockey background. Now it's 30+%. Talk about the impact of college hockey and how that has changed over the course of your time.
Yeah, when I turned pro, I was drafted by the Kings, and when I turned pro, I was playing in their farm team in Houston, and I was the only college player playing in the organization at that time in 1980. And obviously, we all know as hockey's got more popular in the United States, it's created more opportunities, and more colleges have come on with hockey programs at all levels, so there's a lot more opportunity. My first year versus my last year, you saw a big difference. And today, you look at our game and you look at how many players are drafted, U.S.-born players that are drafted, but how many of our college players. There's, you know, I got, I think, top of my head, I have 5 Michigan players on my team right now, and several more. We probably have 10 college players playing for our team. And I think we have the most U.S. players. We made a trade this summer, picked up Charlie Coyle and Miles Wood, both U.S. guys. So I think we're the most U.S. So we're a team you got to root for.
We will, for sure. If you can get that dang cannon to stop startling us. How many have been to Blue Jackets games? How many still get startled by the cannon? You?
Well, I said coming in here at the first press conference, I said I hate that damn cannon. Well, we ended up scoring the most goals in the NHL at home last year, so now I love that damn cannon.
If you're not familiar, the cannon goes off every time they score, and no matter how many times you've heard it, I think you still jump.
You never get used to it.
Well, we're excited to host the World Junior Hockey Championship, the 50th anniversary of the U.S. this coming December, in January, in the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Donnie, you played on the first two U.S. teams, still hold the career record for most career goals by a U.S. defenseman in the World Juniors. Harking back to those days and playing in the World Juniors when it really was not at that time what it is today in terms of its prominence and acceptance, because back in the day there were college coaches that wouldn't let their players go.
Oh, correct, yeah. My first year was 76, and it was in Czechoslovakia, now known as the Czech Republic, but it was in Czechoslovakia. I remember going over there, and you're a young kid, 17, 18 years old, and it tanks on the street, armed guards everywhere you went. It was a great experience, but it was a scary experience too. I think the next year is when the World Juniors really, because next year was in Montreal. That was Gretzky's first year in Canada for playing for the Canadian team. The U.S. team, we were better than we were the year before. I really think that started to get a lot more notoriety. And obviously, as we got more competitive, that was involved with several U.S. junior teams, it becomes more popular. Let's face it, when you have a chance to win, at that level, people start paying more attention to it. But the experience of playing the World Junior Tournament, I mean, it's a long time ago, but I can remember it was a great experience for sure.
And then it wasn't long after that. You talk about how many people have heard of Miracle on Ice? Anybody? Just a few of us, I think. The 1980 Olympic team, and you were involved in the mix till the end. Injury, played for Herb Brooks. How do you capsulize that experience, and any fun stories from that journey you can share with us?
I don't know if I can share too many of those, but so this is what I say. I broke my leg at the sports festival, came back, joined the team, and we traveled to Europe and then in Lake Placid prior to the Olympics. I got hurt again, and I was done at that time. So everybody always asks me about the movie, and I wasn't with the team the whole time, but when I was with the team, it's pretty damn true, because I was in Europe and we skated all night long. You don't remember how long it was until you watch the movie, and then you say, I think it was longer than that. But playing for her was very interesting. I'll tell you one story. We had there was two holiday parties. The first one happened in Lake Placid. If you remember the movie, they showed the one at Herb's house, and that was actually post-Christmas. The one in Lake Placid, we all drew names, and it was supposed to be a secret who got who. Well, it was Gadgets. So I had real bad skin at the time. I got some acne cream as my gift. Well, I drew Herb's name. So, and if you remember the movie, if you remember, he got a whip, and we made up a sign. I had some help with this. I made up a sign that said Ayatollah. So everybody opens their gifts, everybody's laughing, we're having fun. Well, Herb opens his last. It wasn't so much fun. He sent us all to our rooms. We were in Lake Placid. Well, Kenny Morrow was my roommate, another Michigander, and I wasn't in my room for 30 seconds, and Craig Patrick calls me and said, Herb wants to see you. Like somebody pulled me out that quickly. Well, I went to Herb's room, and I got a lesson taught to me, and it's the first time I was speechless because I didn't have a chance to say anything. But Herb was unique because he was. You knew he was the boss, but he was. I know some parts of the movie that could have been a different light, but he was so good at knowing when to push and when to let up. And I always said, a lot of the coaches at that level, you push, but you also have to have a time. And I know you get Mike Sullivan come in here, who could probably talk more about being an NHL coach, but Herb was great at knowing when to let the foot off the gas, and I think that's the players really respected him, and obviously the rest is history.
You got him a whip and a sign with Ayatollah. Did I hear that right?
You've heard that right. Remember, it's 1980.
Wow, have any of you done something like that? Wow, that's a great story. And kind of fun too, the 1980 Olympic team. We've been working with the leaders on Capitol Hill. Pete Stauber from Minnesota is a big leader in this, and getting the congressional gold medal for the 1980 team. And very, very few sports figures or teams would ever receive that. It passed the House, and just before the Senate recess happened, there's enough support that when they come back, it will pass the Senate, and I'm quite certain the president will sign it into law. So it's pretty cool to honor that team with the congressional gold medal. Certainly, they had an impact beyond sports. And Donnie, when you think about it today and think back on it, obviously, tough ending for you, but the impact of that team on sport and what it meant at that time, how would you reflect on that?
Well, what it meant, like you said, as a sport was one thing, but what it meant for our country at that time. You know, we were in a little bit of a wars going on, and lots of controversy going around the world, and especially how it ended because of being able to beat the Soviets there, and before the final game was, you know, that was, you see the movie and you see the Soviets, they're completely stunned because they don't know what to expect. And I think there was, the winning part was unbelievable because certainly the U.S. was the underdog there, but I think how the country reacted to it, you didn't have to be a hockey fan to appreciate what happened and what it meant to our country. So the memories are great, and you know, I always tell the story. Dave Christian was the forward. I was right-hand shot defenseman. Dave Christensen was always a forward until after I got hurt moving back there. And so Dave Christensen played a huge part in them winning the gold medal. So probably the break to me was probably a good thing.
Again, I don't know. I'm not going to go with that. But how many people were 10 or older in 1980? I know. I was just thinking, like, I wonder. Yeah. That was part of our journey with Congress too, doing a lot of education, because I think the hockey community all knows about the Miracle on Ice generally, even if you weren't even born then because of the movie. But many members of Congress were not. The Olympics are coming up, of course, this year. A fun year ahead with that, and the Paralympics as well. Our teams have had great success on the international stage. We'll go into the Olympics and Paralympics this coming February, having won the gold medal in the men's worlds, the women's worlds, and the sled worlds this past season, and as well as the World Juniors, and no other country has ever done that. So fun. And we go back to Italy, and you were the GM of the team, the 2006 Olympics, and the assistant general manager 2010 when we won silver. Any memories from those experiences and how things turned along in hockey in our country since then?
Yeah, USA Hockey was just really, we had the old guard, we had the Chelios, the Doug Waits, the Garretts. Those guys were getting toward the end of their career. And we had a little gap there for a few years. You had Parisi that was coming, Suter was coming. And so it was the last year those guys played that tournament, all the guys that carried USA Hockey for 15 years or so. So it was special for me to be a part of that with those guys. But it was also, it was time for us as USA Hockey to turn it over to the next generation, in which we did. And so then you started having a lot of the young players that we're very familiar with, the Phil Kessels, and like I said, Parisi and Suter, and these guys that really took the ball and ran with it for the next 10 years or so for USA Hockey. So the growth of USA Hockey here in the USA has been, I mean, I've watched it for all these years, and I've been a part of not only Olympic teams, I've been GM of multiple World Championship teams where I can tell you, World Championship in 2000, I was a GM, I was standing outside the locker room begging players to go. The players didn't want to go, and we started changing that. Unfortunately, one of the guys that was very involved in that was Jimmy Johansson, and we started changing the theory that we could compete with all these other countries. And so as time went on, and I think I was a GM for 6 or 7 years, or different years, it became now we start having choices of players. Instead of us begging players to go, we had choices. We had players that wanted to go, and I think that's just overall, just how USA Hockey's built itself from the roots, ground roots, all the way up has been tremendous.
Yeah, you talk about that transition 2010, that was young Patrick Kane that year, and he's, I think, just about 33 points away becoming the all-time leader among American-born players in the National Hockey League, surpassing Mike Modano, and about another 17 points getting past Brett Hull, who is not American-born, but considers himself an American, and fun to think back to. It's wild to think young Patrick Kane, he was pretty good. He's been pretty good, don't you think?
Yeah, it was that first Olympics for him in Vancouver. It was, I mean, he still is a great player. I mean, he might be aging up there, but his game hasn't changed. So, and he's another guy that every chance he got to wear the jersey, he put it on, and I'm so proud of the guys. I just lived through the days where guys didn't want to represent the country. Now everybody wants to represent the country. We witness it in Four Nations, and we're going to witness it again in this Olympics. We get the best players playing in our country that are U.S. are going to play for those teams.
You've had the great pleasure to hire a lot of great coaches over the course of your time and work with them. What are some, when you're looking to hire coaches, what are some of the key traits that you look for when you're picking someone?
Well, one of the biggest things I've always said, I went through last year when I came here and through lots of coaches in my 20 years as a GM, you want to hire good people. Good people that have the same passion to have success. Remember, there's no I in this team, and the coach isn't bigger than the players aren't bigger than the coach. We're all in this thing together. And I always say there's two rules that I always talk to our players about in training camp. And the first one is there's no I in the team, and the second one is don't forget rule number one. Because it's nobody can have success. I don't know what level we're playing at. No individual's going to have success as a team unless the team plays as a team. So hiring good people, first of all, is very important. But I go back to the communication. You guys and girls have the toughest. I have to deal with agents. You guys deal with parents, I know. I have a grandson that plays, and I watch my daughter, so it's it's challenging because every parent, for the most part, maybe not everyone, but they want the best for their kids. You want the best for your kids, and so when you're dealing with younger players, even as they get older, to me, the communication, and I'm not saying so much with the parents, but with the players, so the players understand what you expect of them, and it doesn't matter what age you're at. Once you teach them, don't expect that they're going to remember it. You got to reteach it to them and keep reinforcing what we want to do as a team. And to me, I've seen hundreds, thousands of youth hockey games, and I honestly, I know I'll get in trouble for this, but if you guys could play games without the parents in the building, it would be so much more fun. But I know that's not going to happen. So, I know everybody's got a little different. I've talked to a lot of coaches, actually. Some, have very little communication with parents. Some have more. I think for the younger kids, you need to have more. It's just my experience with it. But, reinforcing, that we're all in this thing together. We're going to do everything we can to help your child improve as a hockey player, and we're going to make sure that we do it as a team and together. We do so many team things that anybody can do, and I'm sure a lot of these guys do it, where you have rules for what time you want them at the rink, and maybe you do an off-ice workout. You do all these things together, no individual stuff from that end. You want to work as a team, so everybody knows the common goal is, you want to get better and compete and try to win hockey games. And winning is so overrated sometimes. To me, it's kids having fun, learning the game, and you guys, when I say you guys, I'm not shouting out the girls, it's an expression, I'm sorry, the ladies in the crowd here, but, you're you're somebody they're all looking up to, and how you handle tough situations, which you put in a lot of them, because I know every level we have challenging refereeing. I know we have no referees in here, right? Every level that we have, but they're doing their best too, so you gotta understand that. But how you handle yourself in front of your kids playing hockey, I think is critical as far as the respect factor you're gonna get from parents, opposing coaches, all that. And I know it's tough sometimes to keep our emotions inside when things aren't going well. And there's a way to express your emotions in a positive way too. So I encourage people, the communication to me and just being a good leader and a good soldier is a big part of it.
You mentioned officials, Donnie, and that's been one of the great new parts of the coaching education, officiating education, is collaboration and education, because obviously both groups have to work together, especially at the youth hockey level, probably at the NHL level too, I guess, right? To some degree, maybe not quite as much, but what about all the firings of NHL coaches the last 2 years? 2 years ago was unreal, whatever it was, 19, or is that an anomaly? Is that a good thing? Why? I mean, you've been at this for a long time.
Well, our league has grown from a financial standpoint. The players are making so much money. I mean, the average salary this year is going to be a little over $4 million a year. So if you're an average player, it's pretty good living. So what happens is, and players have a lot more say today than, you go back 15, 20 years ago, players had no say in it. Now you got players that have a lot of say in it. So it comes down a lot of time that, the players outweigh the coach and win the battle. I completely disagree with that philosophy, because I said, to make a change, you have to have a reason to make a change. And, the coach lost the team or something like that, it's one thing, but just because you got some of your star players that are not happy how the coach is playing them is not a reason to make a change behind the bench. So it's a tough job. It's a tough job keeping everybody motivated, but again, you're going to listen to one of the best coaches, if not the top coach right now in the NHL, who I have to compete against on a regular basis, is, your focus is on keeping your team in line. We all get mad at refereeing and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, in our league, these are the best in the world. So I don't know if we complain about where we're going to find better. And it's the same as it goes down, because you have young referees, just like your players. They have ambitions, maybe going higher, going to the USHL, going to college hockey. So, I think for the most part, everybody's trying to do the best they can.
I want to ask about the notion of what your take is on all the technology we have now in player tracking, and we don't really have this at the youth hockey level, but the whole analytics versus the eye test in terms of how you evaluate players, and is all that technology now and trackers and chips that players wear in jerseys good, bad, indifferent, a little bit of both? What's your take on that?
I think it's a little bit too much, personally. And I came from a team in Carolina. We were probably #1 in analytics, to a team here that we use it, but not to a certain level. As you said, the eye test is #1, right? You can't, you can watch, we watch a lot of video about players and all that. There's no way I'm going to sign a player from a video or from an analytic report. We want to have live viewings of players. So there's a place for a game. I know some coaches use it in game for certain stats and that, but we've seen it in other sports too. If it goes too far, it starts hurting the game, and I'm afraid that right now, the way it's headed, it's getting borderline of what's enough and what's needed. So I know some guys, and might speak more about this. Some guys need more of it, and some guys want less. But I had a coach in Carolina, Rod Brindamore. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league. He had no time for it at all, and he had success. So it doesn't mean it's gonna. You're looking for little edges against teams, of course, what they do in that, and there's certain analytics you can use for it, but overall, I think the eye test is number one by far.
And you use that the most when you're making trades through the draft?
Analytics will tell you, you know, if a player, how much time he spends in his defensive zone versus the offensive zone and all that. And it's a tool, you know, and you can put, whether it's 10%, 15%, some teams might do 20% of, I can tell you, analytics, if we really like a player and we want to go get analytics, it's going to change our opinion on that player. So, you know, again, it's a tool, it's there, it's not going away. It's just how much you depend on it to make decisions.
You had, I mean, I think a lot of people, when you think about your career, they think about you as a general manager, but the business side of your career has been unbelievable as well. And when you were in Atlanta, you ran the NBA team, right? The rink, the team, president. You went to Carolina as the president, and then had a GM later. You've got that entrepreneurial spirit, it feels like, and I want to ask you, you talk about a story, you started a porta potty company back in the day, I understand. I don't know the whole story, but is that right?
It's good you don't know the whole story, but yeah, when I was, you know, my last 2 years, I went to Europe to play, came back and was playing in the minors, and I was 28 years old, and I said, you know what, I got to find something to do. So a friend of mine was in the Porta-John business. And so I decided that I was going to try this. I bought a franchise in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan, and I started that business. I had 25 toilets, just to be frank. And I have lots of slogans, by the way, but I won't share those.
Like what? Who wants to hear a slogan? Let's hear the
The Catholic diocese hired me when the Pope came through when he was traveling the U.S. back in Michigan in what, 88 or whatever it was. And so that was one of my good little things. I was to all the Catholics, and I was Catholic also, by the way. I could sell Pope poop. You know, I know sport. But yeah, so I ran it, then I got, right in the summer I started, and then I got offered a coach GM job at 28, and so I kept the business, ran it in the summertime, and my sister ran it in the wintertime, and then I sold it 5 years later. When I sold it, I had over 5,000 toilets. So it was,
wow.
So you're getting your point. So I enjoy the business side of things. I'm involved in lots of things right now, that a lot of real estate and things like that. I enjoy it, but when I started running the hockey teams, you know, we forget, you know, hockey's number one, it's a sport, but at our level, it takes a lot of money to run these teams, and so the business is very important. So I got real involved in the business, even at the minor league level, and it led into when I got the opportunity in Atlanta. And to me, the two go so hand in hand. I can remember in Detroit, when I was assistant GM, Kenny Holland was the GM. We're Joe Louis Arena. The business office is one side of the bottom of the arena, and the hockey side is the other side. There was a steel door, and it only opened one way. Hockey could go into business, and business couldn't come in hockey. And that just sat with me, saying this isn't right. And so when I got an opportunity to run my own teams, I really wanted to make sure that everybody knows we're in this together. It goes back to what we talked about as team. It doesn't matter if you sell tickets, sell sponsorship, run the marketing department, or play left wing. We're all in here for the same goal. So I've enjoyed over the years running the business and trying to make it profitable. Like I said, the more money we can raise by selling season tickets and sponsorship, the more money I have to spend on players.
Perfect, right? All right, we've got time for a question or two from the audience. One of the questions is about NIL and college sports. Good, bad? What are your thoughts on that and how it's going to affect things, particularly in the college realm, college hockey realm?
I think there's going to be two effects. First of all, I'm not in love with it, but I see you know, this is all done for college football because there's so much money in college football. You talk to some of these athletic directors, I know well, and how much money their football program makes, and that's where this all started. Now it's gone to all the sports. So, you know, you might
so I'm not a big fan. I go back to the team thing. So I got a guy on my team getting paid $200,000, and I'm doing the same job on the team, and I'm getting zero. You know, it's that's what bothers me. I'd rather see it going into a fund for the team. You know, if you have $5 million, whatever the number is, that then we figure a way to divide it so that everybody gets a piece of that, so you feel more like a team. Now, the second part of that will be good for college hockey because you have players now that are gonna, usually a lot of these guys, when they first turn pro, they end up in the minors for a year, maybe 2 years before they break the NHL. Well, they're gonna make more money in college than they are in the minors. So you may keep guys for an extra year, even 2 years in college hockey, which I think is good, because I was 10, 12 years in Atlanta, the whole time there. I took one player out before he was graduated from college. I just didn't believe in it. It was Danny Heatley out of Wisconsin. I drafted him in the first round after 1 year and kept him there for a second year before he turned pro. I'm a big believer of letting people grow up. They're going to develop as players, but let them grow up as people. And we all know young players. How many 18, 19-year-old kids are ready to put millions of dollars in their pocket? And there's few for sure. But I think overall, I think the development for these, not only as players, but as people, is so important for them to have that experience of not only playing college hockey, but living college hockey, living college in general.
So last one, question about Ray Sherrill and how you liked working with Ray. God rest his soul.
Yeah, we worked with Ray when I was in Pittsburgh for a couple of years, but worked more with him with USA Hockey stuff. Ray was a dear friend, was certainly missed by everybody. Ray's one of those guys that he never had a bad day. He was always smiling. He was good to everybody, gave time to everybody. Just very sad story, but he's going to be remembered as one of the nicest, very dedicated to the sport, dedicated to college hockey, as you know, from out east, and certainly from my end, died too young.
Don Waddell, everybody. Don, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.